Welcome to Block and Wealth, your guide to building a life of abundance and, well, strategic growth. I'm David.
And I'm Sophia. It's great to be diving deep with you all again today.
Absolutely. And today, we're really getting into something fundamental. We're exploring how our brains, believe it or not, are often wired for distraction.
That's right. We'll look at why something called a dopamine detox might be more than just a trend, think neurological reset, and why mastering focus is absolutely vital for building genuine, lasting wealth.
Exactly. Prepared to unlock a level of potential you might not even know you have. Okay, so let's start with the basics, but maybe go a bit deeper. We hear dopamine hit all the time, but it's more complex than just a simple feel-good chemical, isn't it?
Oh, much more complex. While yes, it's involved in pleasure, it's really a powerful role isn't just the reward itself, it's the anticipation of the reward.
Anticipation.
Okay. Exactly. Think of dopamine as the brain's primary system for detecting what's important, what's salient, and driving motivation towards it. It's your brain saying, hey, pay attention. This could be good for you, or maybe help you avoid something bad.
So it's future-oriented.
Precisely. That's why, just seeing that little notification icon on your phone can feel so compelling, sometimes even more than the message itself.
Right, that pull to check.
Your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of what might be there. That's what fuels the motivation, the urge to check.
That's a really key distinction. So it's less about the actual taste of the chocolate or the feeling of getting a social media like.
And more about the chase. The possibility of something good happening.
Interesting.
And this anticipation-driven release is what fuels motivation for everything from grabbing that immediate gratification, like the phone check,
Yeah.
to pursuing huge long-term goals, like a major project or, relevant for us, ambitious financial targets.
So it's a double-edged sword then. A tool and a trap.
Perfectly put. Especially now in this hyper-connected world we live in. This system, while crucial for guiding us, has become, well, seriously distorted.
How so?
We're just constantly bombarded with easy, high dopamine stimuli. Think endless social media, instant notifications, nonstop entertainment.
Right. It's everywhere.
And this constant exposure can overstimulate the brain's reward system. It creates this powerful feedback loop, making it incredibly hard to focus on things that need patience, sustained effort, delayed gratification.
Which leads us straight into what you call the dopamine trap.
Exactly. That constant bombardment you mentioned, the pings, the alerts, it really does feel like being caught in a loop, doesn't it?
It does. Almost like a physical pull sometimes. Is that the trap you mean?
That feeling is the dopamine trap in action. When your brain gets hammered with these low-effort, high-reward hits, the endless scrolling, the instant replies, the email alerts,
Yeah.
it gets used to that hyper-stimulated state. It's like the baseline for what's interesting gets artificially cranked way up.
Okay, I see. So normal things become boring by comparison.
Precisely. So then you try to tackle something complex, something requiring delayed gratification, like writing a detailed report or doing careful financial planning.
Right. The important stuff.
And your brain, which is now wired for these quick fixes, just perceives it as incredibly dull, tedious. It doesn't deliver that instant dopamine kick it's learned to expect.
Making focus feel almost impossible.
Exactly. And every time you give in to a notification, you're not just getting distracted for a moment, you're actually reinforcing the neural pathway that values instant gratification over sustained effort.
Wow. So you're literally training your brain against deep work.
Over time, yes, you're sabotaging your capacity for it.
So this isn't just a minor bad habit. This is a serious issue impacting, well, everything. Our work, our relationships, definitely our financial decisions.
It really is. You end up feeling perpetually busy, constantly reacting, but not actually productive in a meaningful way. It's like spinning your wheels.
Yeah, busy but not effective.
And that constant craving for the next dopamine hit, the next distraction, is the root cause of why so many struggle to achieve deep work. That state where real progress, real value creation happens.
It feels like an addiction. Is it fair to call it that?
Hmm.
It's so easy to become reliant on scrolling or binge watching without even realizing how much it controls us.
You're right to sense that, and yes, the neuroscience backs it up. Dopamine in this context behaves remarkably similarly to how it functions in traditional substance addiction.
How so?
The more you get of that stimulus, the social media hit, the video game level up, the sugary snack, the more your brain adapts. It desensitizes.
Meaning you need more to get the same effect.
Exactly. It's called desensitization. Your brain's reward system basically says, okay, that felt good, let's do it again, and maybe a bit more next time.
So it escalates. Checking your phone a few times becomes constant checking. Occasional comfort food becomes compulsive eating under stress.
Precisely. The brain's demand for novelty and stimulation just keeps rising. And it's not just about the behavior itself. This overstimulation cycle creates downstream effects.
Like what?
Like that persistent mental fog so many people report, feeling sluggish, distracted, disconnected from your actual goals.
Yeah, difficulty focusing seems almost universal now.
It makes it incredibly hard to focus on tasks needing sustained attention, complex work, deep learning, even just having an uninterrupted conversation. The craving for quick rewards just drowns out the desire for more patient, meaningful activities.
Leading to procrastination.
Chronic procrastination, exactly. A real struggle to engage with effortful things.
So if dopamine fuels addiction and fogs our minds, what's the impact on our overall mental health? It sounds like a really fragile balance.
It absolutely is a delicate balance, and it's one that's constantly under assault today. When dopamine levels are chronically high from all this external stimulation, it can create a state of, well, mental chaos.
Chaos.
Your brain is effectively stuck in overdrive,
Right.
hyper-aroused, unable to truly relax or focus deeply.
And how does that manifest?
It can show up as pervasive anxiety, a constant restlessness, maybe a desperate need for external validation, or just more distraction.
I could see that.
In more severe cases, this imbalance can really contribute to clinical depression or deep burnout. But it's not just about too much dopamine.
What about too little?
Right. If levels drop too low, maybe after a period of intense overstimulation or for other reasons, that can lead to apathy, a total lack of motivation, even anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure.
So it's a cruel cycle. We chase stimulation to feel better, but that stimulation might be causing the emptiness.
That's the trap, constantly seeking more, yet feeling less fulfilled. The solution, though, isn't to eliminate dopamine. We absolutely need it.
Right, for motivation learning.
Exactly. It's about recalibrating our relationship with it. Through something like a dopamine detox, you allow your brain to reset its baseline sensitivity.
So it becomes more responsive to natural rewards again.
Precisely. You regain control over the reward system. You start finding genuine pleasure and deep satisfaction in activities that align with your actual long-term goals and values.
Fostering both productivity and mental balance.
That's the goal. Learning to work with dopamine, harnessing its power intentionally.
Okay, that lays a really solid foundation. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture, this modern world of distraction we're all navigating. It really feels like we live in an avalanche of information and distraction. How have things like social media, apps, online entertainment specifically engineered this environment of instant gratification?
Well, it's crucial to understand this wasn't an accident. It's sophisticated engineering. These platforms and apps have perfected ways to hook our attention.
How?
Through endless loops, notifications, likes, shares, personalized recommendations, constant updates. Behind all that engagement is dopamine being meticulously manipulated.
So every notification, every like is a tiny dopamine hit.
A microsurge, yes. It's a reward mechanism, subtly conditioning us, encouraging us to repeat the behavior check again, scroll more, click the next video.
It's that constant positive reinforcement building the feedback loop. And you said engineer things like the infinite scroll, time notifications, those uncanny recommendations.
Yeah.
They're designed purely to keep us hooked, aren't they?
Absolutely. They are designed with user engagement metrics and the ad revenue tied to them as the primary goal, often prioritizing that fleeting engagement over long-term user well-being or productivity.
So we get conditioned to expect instant gratification everywhere.
Yes, it becomes a systemic conditioning. We start expecting immediate rewards and solutions, not just online, but in life. This makes focusing on tasks that require patience and deep thought exponentially harder.
And it's not just social media.
No, it's the whole culture.
Right.
Binge watching entire seasons in a weekend, endlessly playing video games, even the rapid-fire consumption of often sensationalized news.
The more time we spend on those high dopamine, low effort things,
The more we train our brains to crave immediacy, making it tougher to engage with the demanding, delayed gratification work that actually builds success and fulfillment.
it creates a massive paradox, doesn't it? We have easy access to quick pleasures like never before, but it warps our relationship with time and attention. We chase the immediate hit over long-term satisfaction.
That is precisely the paradox at the heart of the modern dopamine trap. Think back a generation or two. Achieving anything significant, mastering a skill, building a business, deep relationships, it all required patience, persistence, embracing delayed gratification.
The rewards were big, but rarely instant.
Exactly. But today, that culture of instant gratification makes those long-term pursuits feel, well, frustrating, overwhelming, almost not worth the effort.
So work, learning, growth, they start feeling like burdens,
Increasingly, yes. Instead of rewarding
which
journeys.
leads to that feeling of cognitive dissonance, feeling drained and dissatisfied, even after spending hours on supposedly fun, high dopamine activities, like
Yeah.
mental junk food.
That's a perfect analogy. We're snacking constantly, but never feeling truly nourished. The quick fixes don't lead to lasting satisfaction. Checking your phone again, watching another short video, it's fleeting pleasure, rarely contributing to accomplishment or growth.
It creates a disconnect between what our brain wants, now the easy hit, and what we actually need for long-term happiness and success.
Precisely, and it slowly erodes our sense of genuine fulfillment. Breaking free requires a conscious shift, intentionally prioritizing activities that demand patience, persistence, and deep engagement over those immediate digital distractions.
That makes total sense.
Oh,
And it clarifies how this constant pull drives unproductive habits.
yeah.
Because every time we do get that dopamine release, checking the phone, eating junk food, passive entertainment, it rewards the brain, reinforcing the habit, making it harder to stop.
It's a powerful feedback loop of distraction, and understanding the mechanism is key. Dopamine doesn't just feel good, it actively strengthens the neural pathways tied to the behavior that triggered it.
So each mindless scroll, each extra episode binged, each sugary treat is literally making that habit stronger neurologically.
Yes, making it more automatic, more compelling next time. That's why these unproductive habits feel so ingrained, so hard to resist, like they have a life of their own.
And these habits, while giving short-term pleasure or escape, almost never help our long-term goals. They often work against them.
They absolutely do. This dopamine loop keeps us stuck chasing immediate gratification, preventing us from engaging in the sustained, deep work and meaningful progress that truly matters.
So awareness is key. Recognizing that loop between action, reward, and dopamine gives us the power to make more intentional choices.
Exactly. It allows us to start prioritizing activities aligned with our actual goals and values, not just our immediate impulses.
Okay, so if distractions are the problem, amplified by our digital world, the solution seems to lie in mastering the thing called deep work. Cal Newport's idea of deep work really changed the conversation around productivity. What is deep work, fundamentally? How does it differ from just being busy doing shallow tasks all day?
Deep work, as Newport defines it, is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It's about entering a state of concentration so intense it pushes your cognitive limits.
Allowing you to produce high-quality work faster.
Exactly. It's the polar opposite of shallow work, which consumes most people's days, things like checking email, managing social media, routine meetings, tasks that don't demand much mental effort.
So deep work examples would be things like writing an in-depth analysis, solving a complex problem, coding sophisticated software, maybe composing music or deep studying.
Perfect examples. These all require undivided attention, sustained focus, no interruptions.
The key difference isn't just what you do, but the level of engagement and attention quality.
Precisely. Deep work demands full immersion, every bit of your concentration, significant mental energy, blocking out all distractions, internal and external.
And when you achieve that, you hit that flow state.
That's the goal. Where you're so absorbed, time disappears, self-consciousness fades. It's where peak productivity, creativity, and even enjoyment happen.
That sounds incredibly powerful. So it's not just about output. It's a skill you can cultivate with benefits beyond just getting stuff done, developing skills, personal growth, that deep sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely. It fundamentally transforms your brain. Engaging consistently in deep work reaps significant cognitive benefits thanks to neuroplasticity.
Right, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, like building a neural superhighway for focus.
Exactly. The more you use that focus path, the stronger and more efficient it becomes. Deep work gets easier, more automatic over time.
Fascinating. So it's not just willpower, it's literally changing brain architecture. What are some specific cognitive benefits?
Well, significantly improved problem solving is a big one. You tap into your full potential, think more critically, make connections you wouldn't otherwise see.
Mental clarity, too. Sharper decisions.
Definitely. By eliminating the constant noise. Your working memory, the ability to hold and manipulate information also improves. You think faster, process more efficiently.
What about creativity? That feels like a huge potential unlock.
It is. Deep work creates the mental space for divergent thinking. connecting disparate ideas, finding innovative solutions. Your mind can wander productively without interruptions.
And it reduces cognitive fatigue.
Yes, by eliminating the energy drain of constant task switching, you can maintain focus longer. This sustained focus is crucial for creative breakthroughs, which rarely happen in short bursts.
And builds mental resilience over time, making hard challenges feel more manageable.
Exactly. The challenge, of course, is overcoming all those modern distractions to even get to that state. Our phones, devices, notifications seem designed to pull us away.
They really do. And you mentioned something called attention residue. What's that?
It's a key obstacle. When your attention is divided, even after you switch away from a distraction, like a quick email check,
Yeah.
a cognitive residue from that previous task lingers. Part of your brain stays preoccupied, reducing your capacity to fully focus on your main task.
So more distractions mean more residue, more fractured focus.
Precisely,
Ah.
which makes deep work incredibly difficult.
So how do we fight back? How do we minimize external distractions and maybe even harder, train our minds to resist the internal urge to get distracted?
Okay, first, conscious environmental design. Turn off non-essential notifications seriously, almost all of them. Create a quiet, dedicated workspace. Use website or app blockers during deep work times.
That handles the external. What about the internal chatter, the urge to check the phone?
That's the harder part. Two key strategies here. First, focused sprints. Work in intense, uninterrupted bursts, say 25 to 50 minutes, followed by short breaks, like the Pomodoro technique. It trains concentration and builds mental endurance.
Interval training for the brain, like that.
Second, mindfulness meditation. Even 5–10 minutes daily makes a huge difference. It teaches you to observe thoughts without judgment and gently return your attention. It directly strengthens that focus muscle.
So that whole training process, it's literally rewiring our brains for focus. You mentioned neuroplasticity, the brain change. Let's dig into that. It sounds like we're actively reshaping our brains through our choices. That's mind-blowing.
It really is one of the most empowering discoveries. For a long time, we thought adult brains were pretty much fixed. But neuroplasticity shows they're constantly adapting based on our experiences, choices, and habits.
So every time I choose deep work over scrolling or push through discomfort,
We are sending a neurological signal. Strengthen this pathway. Make this more efficient.
so if I consistently choose focus, that pathway gets stronger. And what felt like a huge struggle, like resisting Instagram, becomes more second nature.
That's the power of neuroplasticity, specifically a process called synaptic pruning. Used connections like your deep work habits strengthen. Unused ones like constant distraction habits weaken and fade. They get pruned.
Wow.
So yes, what felt like effort becomes more automatic because your brain adapts. It's not just changing a habit, it's changing what feels natural, shifting your identity.
And there's another benefit too, about finding joy in simpler things.
Exactly. When the brain isn't constantly hyped up on artificial excitement, it rediscovers pleasure in subtler things. A walk, reading a book, quiet reflection, they become deeply satisfying again as your reward system recalibrates.
That's a profound shift.
Yeah.
And I imagine as the brain adapts, our actual capacity for focus deepens over time. That initial difficulty won't last.
Initially, it will feel hard. Minds wander, people fidget, reach for phones. That's normal adaptation, not failure. Think of the focus muscle being weak from disuse.
Okay.
But like physical training, consistent effort brings cumulative gains. As you practice deep work and dopamine discipline, your brain builds cognitive endurance. Tasks that felt tedious become manageable, then engaging, then truly immersive.
From tedious to immersive, that's quite a progression. So it's true, 1 hour of deep work can be more productive than 4 hours of fragmented effort.
Absolutely. This deepening focus changes your relationship with time and attention. Your brain gets used to sustained concentration, starts to crave it.
So the superficial stuff loses its appeal.
It pales in comparison to the deep satisfaction of real immersion. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Plus, there's a huge confidence boost.
Now, so
Every time you successfully complete a hard task without giving into distraction, you prove to yourself you can do it. Reinforcing that belief, shifting your self-concept from someone who struggles to someone who thrives through focus.
ultimately, this whole journey makes you the master of your own attention, becoming the architect, not just a passive recipient.
That's perhaps the most profound realization. You understand you're not at the mercy of impulses. You have agency. You are the architect of your attention.
And that shifts dopamine discipline from feeling like rules to feeling like empowerment.
Exactly. This intentionality emerges from practice. You learn what environments work for you, your peak energy times, how to curate your digital space.
I like the idea of replacing distractions with rituals of focus, a specific playlist, a certain mug, maybe deep breaths before starting.
Anchors?
They become powerful anchors, signaling it's time to focus, reminding you your attention is precious, not for sale. Over time, your external world starts reflecting this internal clarity.
Saying no more often. Prioritizing depth.
Yes, out of alignment, not avoidance. Protecting your focus becomes part of your identity. You embrace stillness because that's where insight and growth happen. #V. Practical strategies for cultivating deep work.
Okay, we get the why and the science. Now for the how. The practical strategies. That first hurdle for me, and probably many listeners, is just starting. That resistance. My brain always wants the easy path.
That resistance is totally natural. It's biological. Deep work is mentally taxing, requires effort. Your brain wants to conserve energy, seek comfort. Procrastination is often just that instinct kicking in.
Amplified by modern instant gratification where easy dopamine is always available.
Exactly. That pull towards distractions, checking the phone, grabbing coffee, it's your brain seeking relief from sustained focus. The key is reframing it. Not a personal failing, but a natural function. That allows a more compassionate, strategic approach.
And once we understand that resistance, routines seem key to pushing through consistently.
Absolutely. Routines eliminate the mental energy wasted deciding when, what, how. They create structure that trains the brain. Consistency is everything.
So find your peak focus times and schedule deep work like important appointments. Non-negotiable.
Yes. Treat it with that level of respect. Over time, it becomes an ingrained habit, reducing resistance. Your brain starts expecting and even craving that focus time.
Setting clear goals for each session helps too. Specific outcomes.
Vital. Gives direction, purpose, reduces the lure of distraction, whether it's words written, problem solved, sections completed.
Beyond routines, there's a mindset shift needed too, right? Embracing the discomfort of deep work, not just avoiding it.
That's a cornerstone. The discomfort, fatigue, frustration, the urge to quit is often a sign you're doing valuable, high-level work. The shift is reframing that discomfort as a positive indicator of progress, of growth.
That builds resilience.
It does. Also, break large tasks into smaller chunks. Reduces overwhelm, provides mini goals, fuels motivation, prevents burnout.
Viewing deep work like building strength, it gets easier with practice.
Exactly like that. Initial discomfort becomes manageable, even welcome. Then you experience the real rewards. Satisfaction, growth, confidence.
Our environment. It plays such a huge, often overlooked role in focus. Noise, distractions at home, devices everywhere. Creating a distraction-free zone seems fundamental.
It is absolutely fundamental, the foundation. External distractions fragment attention, lower work quality, cause cognitive fatigue fast. So consciously creating a physical space just for deep work is essential.
A sanctuary, quiet room, maybe just a corner.
Yes, solely for high concentration work. No TV, no casual browsing, and critically, phone, tablet, other devices, put them away. Another room, out of sight, out of reach.
Allowing full immersion without constant refocusing.
Exactly, but it's also about internal distractions. Setting clear intentions, writing down goals before you start helps quiet that mental noise too.
Okay, let's talk technology. Maybe the biggest disruptor. Phones, email, social media engineered to hijack attention.
And every ping triggers dopamine, conditioning us for constant stimulation. That's the attention economy model.
So how do we manage it? Boundaries seem key.
Firm, non-negotiable boundaries. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Seriously. Use website app blockers during work hours. Set specific, limited times for checking email, social media, maybe just once or twice a day.
Like scheduled communication blocks.
Exactly. Prevents constant attention hijacking. And forget multitasking. It's really rapid, inefficient task switching that kills productivity. Clear boundaries create mental space for deep, meaningful work.
Beyond the external environment, internal preparation is vital too. Deep work is taxing, so optimal mental and physical states are essential.
Critically overlooked, deep work demands energy. So optimizing yourself before you start is non-negotiable.
Physical preparation.
Prioritize restorative sleep, the bedrock. Healthy, balanced diet, avoid energy crashes. Regular exercise boosts blood flow, enhances clarity. A well-rested, nourished, active body sustains focus longer.
And mental preparation.
A brief ritual before starting. Deep breaths, maybe a minute of meditation, clearly setting goals. Signals the brain. Time to focus. Clears the mind, aligns intent.
Reminding yourself why the work matters helps too.
Definitely. Connects it to larger goals. And don't underestimate breaks. Working in focus blocks, say 90 minutes, then a real break allows the brain to recharge, maintains energy without burnout.
Building cognitive endurance,
Hmm.
like training a muscle. Why is focus so hard work? What exactly is cognitive fatigue?
It's a great analogy. The brain uses energy for intense focus, just like muscles do. Cognitive resources are finite. After extended concentration, you feel mentally drained, like after a workout.
And distractions make it worse.
Significantly compounded. Every shift in attention, even tiny ones, depletes mental energy, making sustained focus harder. That mentally drained feeling is your brain running on empty from constant switching.
So the key isn't just pushing through exhaustion.
No, it's managing and recovering strategically. Building endurance is gradual. Respecting your brain's limits is crucial.
Which makes regular breaks not a luxury, but a necessity, a core strategy.
Exactly. Essential. The brain works best alternating intense focus with recovery, like a marathon runner pacing themselves.
The Pomodoro technique fits here. 25 minutes on, 5 off.
It's a popular, effective structure.
Yeah.
The key is making breaks truly restorative, not just checking email or social media.
What counts as restorative?
Light physical movement, a short walk outside, mindfulness, a completely different low-effort hobby, promotes blood flow, eases tension, ensures you return refreshed, not more drained.
Beyond breaks, strengthening mental resilience itself seems vital for the long haul. How do we train the brain for sustained focus?
Cognitive endurance improves with practice. Challenge your brain to focus for gradually longer periods. Start small, maybe 25-minute sprints, then increase. Balance challenge with capacity to avoid burnout.
Specific techniques.
Mindfulness practices are key. Training the brain to stay present, notice wandering thoughts without judgment, gently returning focus. It's a direct workout for attention.
And mindset.
Adopting a growth mindset, believing focus ability can be developed, viewing challenges and distractions as learning opportunities, not failures. This helps you persevere through frustration.
Seeing distractions as part of the process, not a personal failing.
Exactly. Makes it easier to stay focused longer. Embrace the discomfort of sustained, deep work.
All these practices, understanding dopamine, managing environment, training, they all seem to lead back to reclaiming our most precious asset, time. It really feels like our sense of time is warped in this digital age. You mentioned time blindness. Can you unpack that? Why is it so common?
Time blindness is that inability to accurately sense time passing, especially during dopamine-rich, low-value digital activities. Mindless scrolling, endless videos, hours can vanish without adding value.
Leaving you feeling foggy, exhausted, even though you didn't do much real work.
Exactly. That blurred perception feels empty. You sit down for 5 minutes, look up an hour later with no real memory of what you consumed.
Eating to overcommitment, procrastination, guilt.
All of the above. Dopamine discipline helps strip away those distortions. It lets you feel time again, regain an accurate perception, which leads to more intentional choices about how you use it.
With that renewed awareness, we can then redesign our days, creating containers for focus.
That's the architectural shift. Deep work needs to be built in, not squeezed in. Containers are protected time blocks, non-negotiable, interruption-free periods for deep work.
Consistency is key here too. Routine.
Absolutely. The brain thrives on routine, anticipates the rhythm. Dedicating, say, the first 2 hours every morning makes it easier for the mind to switch into focus mode.
And a dopamine detox accelerates this by removing competing shallow rewards.
Exactly. Allows the brain to settle into the rewarding flow of deep work more easily. Creates a virtuous cycle. Easier focus leads to self-trust, leads to confidence.
What about transitions between tasks?
Managing those consciously is important too. Clear beginnings and endings, a short walk, breath exercise, a sound cue conserves willpower, signals a shift.
This intentional approach sounds like it extends beyond work into a whole way of living, more than just productivity.
Oh, absolutely. The principles focus, clarity, intentionality, they permeate everything. You shift from reactive living to proactive, guided by an inner compass.
Leisure changes too.
Yeah.
From numbing entertainment to enriching activities.
Yes. Reading deeply, mindful gardening, unhurried conversations, eating more mindfully, speaking more thoughtfully. Even ordinary activities become meaningful, present.
So dopamine detox isn't restriction, it's expansion, making space for real fulfillment.
Precisely. Uncovering the richness of everyday experience that was buried under noise and stimulation.
And this intentionality ultimately comes from rewiring our entire reward system, right?
Right.
So every satisfying action reinforces behavior via dopamine. But you're saying modern supernormal stimuli have hijacked this. Hyper-palatable foods, endless online novelty.
They absolutely have hijacked it. These stimuli artificially inflate dopamine way beyond natural rewards. They outcompete the quieter signals from things like reading, exercise, or deep work.
Because they deliver a bigger, faster dopamine spike.
Exactly. Our reward system becomes biased towards shallow, instant gratification. The urge to check the phone or grab sugar feels almost irresistible because the brain prioritizes those hits.
So a true dopamine detox is about recalibrating that system, breaking the link between shallow stimuli and intense dopamine.
Yes. Imagine feeling no compulsive pull to check your phone, or actually craving deep work instead of dreading it.
Yeah.
That requires consciously breaking that automatic reinforcement chain. We have to starve the false signals and intentionally layer dopamine onto constructive behaviors by acknowledging and celebrating deep work successes.
Sounds like mental alchemy.
Yeah.
How do we transmute those old cravings into constructive habits, refining desire itself?
It is like alchemy. Cravings are energy, a drive that can be redirected. Instead of fighting them, attach that energy to a different, constructive loop.
Through intentional substitution.
Yes. Choose a high-quality, accessible, rewarding alternative. Consistently pair it with the trigger cue for the old craving. Over time, the brain reassigns the craving.
So the pull to scroll becomes the pull to journal. Urge to snack becomes urge to walk.
Potentially, yes. Habit stacking is powerful here, too. Attach a desired behavior to an existing cue, like, when I feel bored, I will stand up, stretch, and take 3 breaths instead of reaching for the phone.
And people actually notice forgotten pleasures resurfacing during a detox.
Often within days. As the mind quiets and recalibrates, it starts craving depth. The superficial loses its artificial shine.
How do we sustain this? Make the new habits stick? It sounds like it goes deeper than effort, identity, emotion.
That's the deepest layer. Habits stick when they become expressions of who we believe we are. Identity is the anchor.
And emotion shapes identity.
Profoundly. Every time you follow through on something hard and feel pride, satisfaction, gratitude, that positive emotional imprint glues the habit neurologically.
So reflection is crucial. Celebrating wins. Reinforcing that self-concept.
Yes. Journaling progress, sharing your journey, telling yourself a coherent growth story. It strengthens the neural paths. Sustainable motivation becomes less about pushing, more about nourishing the connection between who you aspire to be and what you do.
Discipline aligns with your highest self, becomes desire.
That's the transformation. It leads to profound self-trust and welcoming challenges.
And ultimately to profound mental clarity. Mental clarity feels so rare today. What exactly is cognitive clutter? Where does all that inner noise come from?
Cognitive clutter is like having dozens of mental browser tabs open. Incomplete thoughts, unresolved fragments, unaddressed tasks, open loops.
Things we haven't finished, clarified, or parked somewhere trusted.
Exactly. Remembering emails, bills, groceries, they linger, consuming mental bandwidth. Deeper stuff too, unresolved conflicts, fears, regrets, they crowd and distort thoughts, leading to reactive choices.
And information overload adds to it. Headlines, tweets, posts, without processing time.
Big time. Triggers small, accumulating reactions. Clarity starts by identifying these noise sources.
Okay, once identified, how do we clear and center the mind? What are the tools and rituals?
It's an art and a discipline. Requires tools and consistent rituals. A powerful one is the brain dump.
Getting it all out.
Externalizing all thoughts onto paper or digitally. Immediately relieves the brain's burden, creates space.
What else?
Meditation, an unparalleled workout for attention, trains the mind to return to stillness, observe thoughts without chasing. Even 5-10 minutes helps.
Movement helps. as well.
Movement, yes. A brisk, silent walk resets the brain, integrates thoughts, allows insights. And sleep, non-negotiable for clarity. Poor sleep clouds memory, dulls focus.
So detoxing the mind is a lifestyle. Protecting sleep, moving, reducing caffeine, embracing silence.
Exactly, a holistic approach.
Beyond clearing noise, we also need to design our mental environment, an inner architecture for focus.
Precisely, just like a physical space.
Yeah.
Key elements, clarity of intention. Before starting deep work, ask, what exactly am I achieving? What does success look like? Primes the prefrontal cortex. Psychological safety. Suspend the inner critic during work. Tell yourself, time to act, not judge. Create a temporary mental bubble free from fear of imperfection.
Important.
Closing open loops. Before starting, capture loose ends in a trusted system. Use the 2-minute rule or a quick capture ritual. Builds trust the brain can forget for now.
Freeze a Bram.
Exactly. And emotional alignment. Start with a desired feeling curious, empowered, grounded. Use a small ritual to evoke it. When emotion and cognition align, clarity feels effortless. Flow happens. The mind trusts itself.
Part of clearing noise, then, involves embracing quiet,
Hmm.
even boredom. In our always-on world, boredom is feared, seen as wasted time. But you're saying it's actually vital, a gateway to creativity.
It absolutely is. Boredom isn't negative. It's essential for brain health and creativity. When external novelty is absent, the brain wants to fill the gap. That empty space is potential.
How does allowing boredom help?
It activates the brain's default mode network, or DMN. This is your brain's idle, or internal processing mode. When you step away from demanding tasks and let your mind wander.
The DMN lights up.
Yes, promoting spontaneous mind-wandering, daydreaming, internal processing. That's why great ideas often pop up during showers, walks, quiet moments.
So giving the brain space lets it connect ideas in novel ways, make unnoticed connections. Boredom isn't waste, it's precursor to innovation.
Precisely. Allows new ideas and solutions to surface. Yet, we have this deep fear of idleness. Our culture glorifies busyness, sees productivity as ultimate success, rest as the enemy.
That belief is so counterproductive, isn't it? Feeling guilty for taking a break or just sitting still.
Profoundly counterproductive. Obsessing over constant productivity leads to stress, exhaustion, burnout. Rest isn't the enemy, it's the necessity.
It recharges the brain and body, maintains energy, focus, creativity long term.
Exactly. The fear of idleness is based on a false premise. Rest is the foundation of sustainable productivity. Without it, brains can't function optimally, consolidate memories, or make new connections.
So rest is active recovery, not just downtime, a necessity for deep work.
Correct. Deep work is a marathon. Proper rest includes physical, mental, and emotional recovery. Mental fatigue is as real as physical fatigue.
So incorporating regular restorative breaks is key.
Yes. Short walks, mindfulness, different hobbies. Prioritizing sleep is critical for brain function, memory, emotional regulation. Create a good sleep environment, stick to a schedule.
And mental recovery, disconnecting.
Intentionally disconnecting from work, engaging in relaxing activities, nature, music, quiet reflection. Giving yourself permission to rest without guilt allows space to grow, reflect, return with greater intention and energy.
Ultimately, all these practices seem to build towards intentional focus, attention. It
Yeah.
really is the gateway to experience.
Yeah.
Finite, easily depleted. So the quality of our attention shapes the quality of our work, our life. What does the science say?
It confirms attention is the currency of consciousness. Brain capacity for focus is limited. Constant distractions fragment it, make it less effective.
And multitasking is a myth.
A dangerous myth. It's rapid task switching, which incurs huge cognitive load. Each switch requires reorienting, loading info, filtering consuming energy, reducing efficiency and quality, leads to more errors, longer times.
So full, undivided attention on one task unlocks deep focus, peak performance, flow.
Exactly. But it requires deliberate effort, actively blocking distractions, committing to the present task. Consistent practice strengthens those focus pathways.
So deep work is a deliberate practice. Requires time, intention, discipline. How do we cultivate that uninterrupted focus practically?
First, the environment. Minimize external distractions, specific time, space, free from email, calls, social media. The fewer external pulls, the easier deep focus becomes.
Second, internal distractions.
Mindfulness meditation is key here. Training awareness of thoughts, gently guiding attention back, builds the focus muscle.
Third, clear goals.
Specific, ambitious, yet achievable goals for each session. Break down large projects. Great structure, direction, momentum. It's a cultivated practice, not accidental.
What about inevitable distractions? Things that do break through. Social media alerts, urgent emails, deadlines.
They are constant challenges, but your response can be trained. First, recognize sources, then proactively reduce them, notifications off, tabs closed, blockers, quiet space.
When they do get through, strategies.
Okay, try the 2-minute rule for thought surges. Acknowledge it. Engage briefly, maybe 2 minutes max, set a timer. Address it quickly, jot down, quick reply, then immediately return to work. Controls its power.
What else?
The Pomodoro technique. Those 25-minute focused intervals with short breaks. Maintains momentum, prevents burnout, trains sprint focus.
And self-compassion.
Crucial. When the mind wanders, and it will gently bring attention back, no self-criticism. Harshness depletes willpower. Patience guides it back. Consistent practice deepens focus, increases capacity for high-quality work.
True mastery. It really seems to boil down to the compound effect. Small, consistent actions building momentum over time.
Absolutely, that's often overlooked. Lasting, transformative results rarely come from grand gestures. They're the steady accumulation of small, purposeful actions day after day.
The compound effect in action.
Exactly. For deep work, it means showing up daily, committing even when it's hard, trusting each focus session contributes. Consistency builds psychological momentum, reinforcing belief in your ability.
Deep work becomes easier, a natural rhythm.
Yes. The transformation is gradual, but the cumulative impact is undeniable in output, focus, creativity, well-being.
So how do we embed it? Make it a true habit, an automatic rhythm. Rituals and routines seem key.
They are the essential scaffolding. Create powerful rituals around deep work. Maybe the first hour of the day, a specific pre-work routine tea, meditation, reviewing goals, primes the mind.
Treat deep work times as non-negotiable. Sacred time.
Yes, block them out, protect them fiercely, signals the brain it's focus time. Continue setting clear, achievable goals for sessions, break down projects, track progress, celebrate small wins, reinforces the habit loop.
Consistency makes focus more effortless, weaves it into daily life.
That's the goal. But even with routines, setbacks happen. How do we overcome those doubts, obstacles, stay committed? Setbacks are inevitable, part of the path. Resilience is key. First, view obstacles not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and grow. What triggered the distraction? How can I adjust? Radical self-compassion. Treat yourself kindly when things go wrong, not harsh judgment. Recognize setbacks are normal. Criticism undermines motivation. Third, stay focused on your why, the deeper purpose behind your commitment. That intrinsic motivation anchors you during tough times.
And finally,
continue celebrating all progress, however small. Acknowledge his effort, builds momentum. This approach turns setbacks into stepping stones, allowing you to continue towards lasting transformation. #tag reflection.
Wow, we've covered an immense amount on dopamine, distraction, deep work. This connection between focus and discipline feels incredibly relevant for personal growth generally. But how does it all connect specifically to wealth building, to financial strategy?
Yeah.
That's the core of block and wealth.
This is where it becomes incredibly tangible for wealth creation. Think about it. Just as deep work demands prioritizing long-term rewards over instant gratification,
Right.
true wealth building is fundamentally about sustained, patient effort, not chasing quick fixes or speculative fads.
So avoiding financial dopamine traps, impulse spending, chasing hot stocks, get-rich-quick schemes, they mirror that instant gratification cycle.
Exactly. Contrast that with consistent, disciplined investing, diligent saving, continuous financial learning. These provide delayed gratification, but lead to profound, lasting financial satisfaction, much like the fulfillment from deep work.
So it's applying deep work principles directly to our finances. Focused, undistracted effort on budgeting, research, planning.
Precisely. That is deep work for your money. And think about detoxing inner noise, quieting anxiety about market swings, silencing FOMO, tuning out media hype. That leads to clearer, more rational financial decisions, not emotional ones. Mental clarity for your money.
And the compound effect, we talked about small, consistent actions over time. That's the heart of investing too, isn't it?
Yeah. The parallel is striking. It's the daily habit of saving a little, consistently contributing, regularly reviewing your plan, not just waiting for windfalls that build significant wealth. Patient, consistent effort.
Finally, the identity shift. Seeing yourself as financially disciplined, a smart investor, a strategic builder.
Yes. That inner transformation, driven by applying these principles, is perhaps the most powerful outcome. Your financial habits become an extension of who you are, ensuring they stick. #tag outro.
What an incredibly insightful journey through dopamine, distraction, and the real power of deep work. Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive from Block and Wealth.
We really hope this empowers you to reclaim your focus, master your attention, and ultimately build a more strategic and abundant life.
Definitely subscribe wherever you listen to deep dives like this, and please share this episode with anyone you think could benefit from unlocking their focus and mastering their time and attention.
Wealth isn't luck, it's strategy.